Here we go. I'm gonna take a bite first though. 23rd February of 6 p.m. So, Mr. Natsume, are you really returning home to Japan? Yes, indeed I am. Everything is arranged already. Let me lift it up higher. We'll be sad to see you go. And after Runa worked so hard to prove your innocence as well. What a shame. Feels like it was all a wasted effort. Don't say that. I know what you're suggesting. Now calm down, Mr. Natsume. It's all fine, really. You're all in good company here. If you fear the Reaper, you needn't hide the fact. I'm a proud citizen of the Empire of Japan. I'm not a scaredy cat. Talking of cats, Mr. Sholmes just casually threw one among the pigeons there. I mean, like, he belongs in Japan, not here. That's what I've come to realize. I wonder, a mustache such as yours is eminently suited to London, I'd say. There goes Mr. Sholmes throwing around another cat in. The moment I arrived in this city, I noticed. Everyone in London laughs at me behind my back like hyenas. Hysterical hyenas, haha, being horribly. I'm sure that's not true, Mr. Natsume. But it is. Whenever I turn around and peer down fog-filled streets, all I see is foreigners everywhere. Well, there's you, Runo, and Susie in a year, so that's 3 foreigners out of 5 people. I take your point. Only the other day, I was taking a stroll through the fog, and as usual, when a young man approached me from ahead, he was pale and gaunt, his back arched like a cat, observing his wretchedness. Moved me so deeply. I thought to myself, I'm not the only one suffering in this. But, you know what? Can you imagine? It's just my own reflection in a shop window. That's kind of sad. Stunning, singing, stupefying surprise. Don't forget, slap in the face. Everyone started laughing at me. Gentlemen thereabouts, ladies passing by, even the man in the shop window. But yes, and a certain great detective would like to be included among the mirthful. Oh, Mr. Sholmes is really going for Soseki-san today. Well, I for one think you're a very handsome man, Mr. Natsume. There, did you hear that? This 10-year-old girl thinks you're handsome. Isn't that wonderful? That makes me feel suspiciously warm inside. He looks genuinely delighted. The point is, we Japanese are humble and modest. Studying on foreign soil, surrounded by foreign people, how could anyone possibly enjoy that? No one could. It's impossible. If you're a genuine Japanese. If you say so. Actually, it would appear that there is someone. A Japanese man who studied in a foreign country and seemed to have thrived on the experience. There is? Mr. Ogai Mori. I believe he studied in Germany. Mr. Mori? Great, tell us more about this fellow. Well, today he's a very successful author in Japan. Oh, I heard of him. The professor who wrote My Hime, isn't he? My Hime? I suppose in English the title would be Dancing Queen. Maybe? Hello, moon who waltzed her way through the world, perhaps? you really need to make up a silly translation, you know? It's already officially called The Dancing Girl in English. It seems Mr. Mori really enjoyed his time in Germany. He became close with a local lady while he was there. Close, you say? With a local lady? Compatriots, criminally contradictory conduct. Well, I suppose your experience of studying abroad depends to a large extent on your character. As they say, many onions. Mr. Mori has an open mind, Mr. Natsume, closed one. Possibly a slightly black and white view, don't you think, Mr. Sholmes? Well, anyway, if that's how you feel about being abroad, why did you choose to study here? Wasn't it to further our nation's understanding of English or something? That's right. So, what were you doing in Japan before you came to Great Britain then? I was a school teacher, English of course. A bit cursory perhaps, but I managed to discover some information about Mr. Natsume's teaching days. That's just a little outside the field of law, isn't it, Mrs. Sato? Well, let me pose you a question, Mr. Naruhodo. If you had to translate the English phrase, I love you, into Japanese, what would it become? It's easy. Aishiteru or suki desu. Wrong. According to Mr. Natsume's teaching at least. What? Would you like to explain, Mr. Natsume? Of course. Your research was very thorough. I always used to tell my students that we Japanese don't express ourselves that way. Rather, we might say, Tsuki ga kirei desu ne. My dear Mr. Natsume, I must interject. Tsuki ga kirei desu ne would translate to as, the moon is beautiful, isn't it? I know that. Point is that we Japanese are reticent when it comes to expressing our emotions. We prefer to show our feelings of adoration, our tsuki, by appreciating the beauty of the moon. The tsuki. Using the tsuki to express tsuki. It's an amusing play on words, I see. No, or in language you might understand better than Sholmes. It's not a play on words. It's subtle. It's humble. It's fleeting. And beautiful. It's art. Isn't it just being shy? My dear fellow, the foreign dancing girl will forever be out of your reach with such an attitude. Imagine how great Mr. Mori would act. He would win the lady's heart in a flash with a well-placed and unrestrained "I love you." That's rude, Mr. Mori. Am I destined to live in his shadow forever? Just what sort of man is he, that imagination of yours? I just can't settle in this foggy London town with all these foreign inhabitants. I lost count of all the number of different lodgings I tried before I found myself here. As it happens, I even lived on Baker Street at one time. Really? A Sao scholar lives near there. A man named by the name William James Craig. His knowledge of Sao is unsurpassed. He is a great inspiration to me over the... Forgive the interruption, but am I supposed to be familiar with this Sao of which you speak? It's Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare, but in Japanese we write it as Sao, Sa and O. It's phonetic representation using kanji characters, so English is ikirisu. and America is America. Come to think of it, we use the same character as ni as in one word, and nisu in other. Talk about confusing. So Shakespeare is Sao in Japanese. Perhaps, presumably the Sa is a brutal attempt at the first Sha, in which case there's a here. I never thought of that. We only have the O left. Which could, in the most charitable interpretation, only be a brutal attempt at old man. It seems to me that whoever had the job of deciding the characters for his name got bored really early on. Complete kanji character catastrophe. So then, on the burning question, what about me? How do you write my name? Sorry? Sherlock Sholmes, my dear fellow. There must be Japanese characters for my name. Oh dear, I'm sorry Mr. Sholmes, but none exist that I'm aware of. Am I really nothing to you, Japanese? In that case, it is a matter of paramount importance. You must construct my name in kanji at once. Well, we could use the kanji that's pronounced so to start with, then use one more to give so-o? So-o, perhaps? I think that would be about right, Mr. Sholmes. But that's almost the same as Sao, isn't it? Yeah, you imported the dreaded O. I don't want people to confuse me with that old man who died centuries ago. I'm sure the world's greatest literary figure would rather not be confused with you either. Well, the world's greatest detective is still youthful and full vigor, so how about so handsome? What? Oh yes, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure everyone will be calling you that 100 years from now. How could she say that with a straight face? What about me then, Iris? Perhaps Aihime, since the second character doesn't seem to matter. Aihime? Oh, Goddess of Love. That's an adorable name for you, Iris. Stop, please, with a name like that. Mr. Mori is likely to turn up at any moment and rashly declare I love you. Does Mori's silence become quite a character in just like his own spine? And you, Mr. Naruhodo, might I venture? Urobozu has a fitting name for you, as in the Dark Monk. But I'm already Mr. Naruhodo. Naruhodo. Oh, that's very good. It describes you perfectly, Runo. Do you think I'd be wearing this black varsity uniform for the rest of my days, do you? But Mr. Naruhodo's already has a Japanese name. I don't believe it needs another. Well, anyway, we were talking about your life here in London, weren't we, Mr. Natsume? You should just get out and have fun. That landlady has said so much. Scared, Deb? But it wasn't fun at all. It was frightful. Whatever do you mean? A cycle incident. An incident on a bicycle? Yes, come to think of it. There's an old bicycle parked just outside, isn't there? It's in sort of state, of course. I tried to say no to her, but she insisted I took it for a ride. Perhaps my pronunciation was wrong? So I took my life in my hands and attempted to ride the steel spiderweb stallion to a nearby park. I really don't think there's anything wrong with your pronunciation, Mr. Natsume. Don't care, Deb. Jess isn't the kind of woman to take no for an answer. If you're going to die, you may as well lie in beautiful surroundings, so the park was my first thought. After a whole day of dicing with death, I emerged with only relatively minor bruises. So you got the knack of it? Don't be silly. dying isn't something we can learn to do. Mr. Natsumi, you keep talking about dicing with death or dying and so forth, but riding a bicycle is supposed to be fun. Oh no, that's what people tell you, but it's an old wives' tale. Is it? I mean, just consider the real name of the bicycle. It's not called a dicycle for nothing. Dicycle? How anyone expects to use such an aptly named vehicle to move forward is beyond me. Pedal power promises pain. I didn't think it was possible to get worse with practice. I'm lucky to be alive. Although, I must say, after looking death in the eye for a whole week, I did at least manage to mount this steed reliably. Notwithstanding a few wobbles, I found I could make progress in the forward direction. What a triumph. Deduction is much the same. When first presented with a problem, the mental exertion trying to solve it leads only to a bit of disappointment. But after a week of picking one's way carefully along the path of reasoning and thought, one begins to see the results. So is that why all of your off-the-cuff deductions always seem half-done? What a wonderful insight into your extraordinary mind, Mr. Sholmes. Unfortunately, after wobbling down the street, I noticed there were 3 little stones everywhere. There were little stones everywhere. That's right. Not that way, I said to myself. But the wild vehicle wouldn't listen, wobbled me on and on down the street. Of course, I hit one of those deadly stones and the crazy colt threw me. It's just my luck. Bicycles are the epitome of my pitiful life. I wish I could disagree. On the same subject, I'm sure there's a famous American author who's written about having a similar experience. Oh yes, I read that essay too, Iris. Some of us are better read than others. Well, no more bicycles for me. Oh, Mr. Natsume, at least you have an interesting anecdote to take with you back to Japan, if nothing else. You can always manage to put a positive spin on things, don't you, Susato? Personally, I haven't mounted a bicycle for some time. No, me neither. That's good. So, how about a jaunt? Shall we ride out together? Huh? That sounds great. I'll perch behind Mrs. Sato. But the sun is going down. It'll be pitch black before long. London street lamps are pretty bright, you know, and the fog isn't too thick today. And my beloved ride is all bent out of shape. Dear fellow, if you are bound to topple the vehicle anyways, it's fitting that it's already bent out of shape. It's settled then. Come along, Mr. Natsume. Shall we go? Tsuki ga kirei desu ne. So is he saying the moon is beautiful, isn't it? Don't tell me that's its translation of no thank you as well. Indeed, Mr. Natsume, the moon is most beautiful precisely this time in the evening. Well, we're not Japanese. You can't beat around the bush with us. What? So weird and wonderful world! That's such weird way to...